What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Shots on Target podcast. My name is Phil, joined by my man Jakey as always.
What's good, everyone?
So, this week we're going to be talking about our three biggest games from the weekend, plus an honourable mention that we thought needed adding. So, if you guys do enjoy it, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get into it, guys.
And kicking off with our first game we're going to discuss this episode, it's Brentford West Ham. And I'll let the West Ham fan take the floor.
Yeah, so once again, West Ham United on the end of another defeat. Obviously, Brentford very good at home. Obviously, once again, as per usual, started slow away, ended up conceding to Neil Mopay, who scored his first goal in like 3 years. It cannot fucking happen. West Ham United, it just can't. Poor defending. But we weathered the storm, and Mohamed Kudus scored a absolutely fantastic scissor kick, bicycle kick, whatever you want to call it. Set up by Michael Antonio, which got us back in the game. Then we have the record breaker Jared Bowen giving us the lead on the 26th minute with a lovely finish. For anyone that doesn't know, he broke the record of 6 consecutive Premier League away games scoring in, which broke Thierry Henry's record of 5. So, top man Jared Bowen, West Ham player breaking Premier League records. You'll love to see it. But unfortunately, that's as good as it got for West Ham United. Once again, we reverted back to our old tactics, David Moyes-esque, defended, tried to hold on to what we had, sat back, and just allowed Brentford to come on to us, which then led to the equaliser for Brentford, which was an unfortunate own goal for Dinos. And then Brentford took the lead in the 69th minute through Nathan Collins. Really not much to say on it from a West Ham perspective. It's the same old shit that I'm used to seeing. I didn't expect to get us to get anything out of this game, maybe a draw, because I know from past results that West Ham will win midweek and lose at the weekend, and that's just exactly what happened. But what wound me up the most was, once again, like I said on social media, we attacked Arsenal from the first minute to the last in the cup, and we dominated them. And that's a very good Arsenal team as well. It's not like they put a lackluster side against us. We really gave it a good old go and showed determination, heart, all the ticked boxes. But then it comes to the weekend, we're losing, and we're winning, and we revert back to our old tactics of defend what you got, don't even attack. Obviously, we had that chance for Michael Antonio where he completely robs it off of Ben Rama's foot, which was an easy tap in, and somehow blazes it over the bar. And I'm just like, what are you even doing in that situation? I'd be fuming if I was Ben Rama. But as I say, same old tactics from West Ham United. It didn't surprise me in the slightest, and it's just getting a bit boring now, to be honest.
Yeah, what confused me the most is just the stark difference of how you performed against Arsenal to how you performed in this game. You started and you didn't really look like you had that fight in you until you went 1-0 down, whereas against Arsenal, you came out full guns blazing.
Yeah.
And I don't get what's happened in training for that performance against Arsenal to go by the wayside, and you play like you did against Brentford.
It's genuinely like we can only get ourselves up for the big games against the big teams, which makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. You look at our past results. Brighton, who we knew were flying at the time, David Moyes had fantastic tactics to win that game. I gave him props for that completely. And West Ham battled and got the result from it. Chelsea, obviously, big team. Obviously, they were struggling, but it was still a very good result. Man City, we gave an absolute game to, even though we lost. It took pure quality to beat us that day. Even against you, we dominated you for the first like 40 minutes, and then it just went to shit. But it shows we can do it against the big teams. And again,
Yeah.
Arsenal in the cup did the exact same thing. We looked like we deserved to be there. But then we come up against a team like a Brentford or an Everton or a Sheffield United or a Luton or whatever, and we just go to pieces. It's like David Moyes thinks we're the better team, so we should be able to hold on to a lead against this smaller team. But he knows if we're playing a bigger team, then he knows that we're going to have to still attack because we need more goals. It just makes zero sense to me at all.
Do you think it's maybe a case of the players and the manager think you are bigger than you are. And that's not as like you're not a big club, because obviously you're European champions, you've got like a good history as a club, but you're still kind of that in that best of the rest. You've not really broken into that what is the traditional top six,
Kind of, yeah,
and
kind of.
you think maybe you take you don't take the games as seriously as maybe you should do. Because, like, don't get me wrong, Brentford are no slouchovers. They came up and they've kind of established themselves as a team that deserve to be in the league.
Oh yeah,
But obviously, West Ham are the bigger club out of the two. So, do you think it's maybe a case of complacency? You just don't take them games seriously, like your Evertons, your Sheffield Uniteds, your Lutons, and so on and so forth. I know you beat Luton, but it was a hard game.
kind of.
Like,
I get what you're saying. The thing that stands out for me with West Ham United is from a fan perspective, I would actually see Brentford away as a harder game than us at home against Arsenal in the cup, because in the cup anything can happen, and we're at home as well. And I always give us the advantage when we're at home because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Our fans are our 12th man. We always fucking pack a stadium and get behind the lads. It just seems like David Moyes has just got his eggs in the wrong basket. The tactics just are all wrong. Like, I love the fact that midweek he played Jared Bowen up top and he played Kudos on the right, and they were fantastic together. Like, Jared Bowen can play up top. I don't know why we keep reverting to Mikel Antonio. I think he's past it. I really do. I know he does a lot of hard work off the ball, but it's not going to win you games of football. We need someone that's going to be there, that's, when that ball drops in that 6-yard box, is going to put the ball in the back of the net. Don't matter how much running you do in the 85 minutes before that, that ball needs to end up in the back of the net. You can run your arse off and look the best player on the pitch, but if we lose 1-0 and you've missed 7 key chances, that stands out. And that's the biggest thing for me. I think David Moyes needs to realise that Jared Bowen needs to be our striker, and I'm sorry, but Kudus now deserves to start on that right every single game. He has been phenomenal. He's us.
I will ask also, and we posted a shot on the YouTube, with you saying that you think you should part ways with Moyes if the club want to be elevated to that next level.
Yeah.
Who would you go for? Who's the manager you think out there now, available or not? You can have a choice of two. One that's is available, one that you would like at the club. Which manager do you think would implement a better style with these players and could take you to that next level?
It's a tough one. Though, like you say, there isn't that many managers out there that is available in the field of like Premier League material. Do you know what I mean? And we're not even talking like just Premier League material. We're talking about a club that wants to elevate themselves. So you're looking at someone that can do better than Moyes. So really, the only one that stands out is Graham Potter, who's available. I think he'd actually suit West Ham's style. I think it's a bit like a Brighton situation for him, where the fans would get behind him. Obviously, it wouldn't be like Chelsea, where you lose 1 or 2 games and the fans get on your back instantly. West Ham fans can be quite patient, as everyone should know. We've fucking been very patient over the years, and we're reaping the rewards for it now. But in terms of the managers that are available, I'd actually say Gary O'Neill. I think he would suit perfectly to West Ham's style of play. I think you give him a budget and a structure, and I think he'd be very good, because I think he was unfortunate to be sacked at Bournemouth, and I think he's doing a great job at Wolves. So, that answers your question.
Yeah, I'd like to hear the what other West Ham fans have to say as well on Twitter and in the comments.
Yeah,
but we will move on.
I'll definitely comment
to
with you guys.
Yeah, we'll move on to the second game of the weekend. A very controversial game.
Yes, Newcastle Arsenal.
Newcastle Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yes. Was it in or was it out? We'll start off with that. We'll start off with the big talking point of that game. We'll get onto the red cards and the other happenings in that game. But was it? Do you think it was in or do you think it was out?
It was out. I've said it on social media, and I'm standing by it. I believe it was out. I know. Watching it in real time, I thought it was out, and I thought they put it back and disallow it. Then they showed the camera angle the VAR looked at. I still think it was out then, but I do believe that although I think it was out, I still believe VAR made the right decision because they stood by that if they couldn't come to a definitive answer, then they left it to the on-field decision and they gave the attacking team
Benefit of the doubt.
the benefit of the doubt. Um, so I like that from VAR standpoint that they stuck with the on-field decision. Um, but I do believe the ball was out. Also, you have the was it a push on Gabriel? I don't think it was. I think it's a bit too soft. That I know when people have seen the still with his hands on his back, but if you watch it in real time, it's very minimal. I think Gabriel goes down a bit too easy. And then obviously you've got the third and final one where was Anthony
Was he
Gordon
offside?
offside as well? Yeah, where for me, I don't think you can definitively decide that. I think that's one of the toughest ones you're gonna call all season. That. So I
Yeah.
think personally, I know Arsenal fans are going to be pissed at this, and they're pissed off anyway. Obviously, Arteta is as well in the media, but for me, I think VAR made the right decision on that call. Just by the fact that because they couldn't make their mind up, they kept the on-field decision. They didn't fuck about with it. I know it took a little bit of time, but I mean they had three decisions to go over, so you can understand why they took a bit of time there. But yeah, I think they made the right decision personally.
I'm gonna play a bit of devil's advocate here. Yeah. So obviously, we've both played football. Me, obviously, a long time ago. You, I think, probably a bit more recently. But even the slightest of touches, if you're in the air, the slightest of touch can put you off balance. And you've seen that, when a player's running full speed and they get a little clip, and you think, nah, there's probably not enough contact to go down there. But even just the littlest of clips can fully take you off balance and make you go down. Do you think maybe he has gone down too softly? But do you think that has to be taken into consideration? He's in the air, and even the slightest of touch can send him because he's got no balance in the air. He can't control
I
himself.
think it can, but also goes back to my point where you can't definitively say that though. Like
Mm,
VAR is there. That's what people seem to forget sometimes. VAR is only there to intervene on clear and obvious errors by the referee and the on-field decisions. When you look back at all three of those, can you honestly say that there is three or any one of those is clear and obvious? Because I personally
Oh,
can't.
I'm not saying any of them are clear and obvious. I was just more so playing to just putting that idea out there that maybe to us there might not have been enough contact, but
Oh,
to the player going up off balance, having that contact, it's gonna, it's gonna mess with him trying to defend it, defend the goal.
oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, when I watched it in real time, I thought the ball was out, but obviously it was deemed in. Do you know what I mean? Like the obviously everyone
Yeah,
forgets that the ball obviously has a curve. Do you know what I mean? It's not a flat surface, so even if there's a tiny portion of that on the line, it's still technically counted as in play.
yeah,
But that's ridiculously hard to figure out. The thing that pisses me off
yeah,
the most, though, that people aren't talking about for me is that we have 20 Premier League stadiums and 20 different versions of VAR. Not every
yes.
stadium has the exact same camera angles as every other stadium. Now, for me, that has to be addressed instantly. That cannot happen. You can't go to Kenilworth Road and have only two angles, then go to the Emirates and have seven. You can't do that because then it will just completely change the decisions that are being made. You'll have one angle that shows offside and one angle that shows onside. There needs to be a definitive idea about what VAR have going forward for me.
Funnily enough, you bring up you've got that one angle that shows on, one angle that shows off. That happened last week.
Yeah, it did.
So it's
Yeah,
and if you hear the I don't know how many will have heard it. Obviously, VAR have released, or the PGMOL have released the audio discussing that whole phase of them checking the goal, checking it, and you can hear them say "Is this really the best angle we've got?"
yeah,
And I think if you can't go stadium to stadium and have the same angles consistently throughout the entire stadium, what's the point in having it?
exactly. And that is
You
my
can't.
biggest peeve about VAR at the minute is when I heard that on Saturday evening when I think it was Gary Neville whoever he was commentating with literally said that this stadium has different angles than other stadiums. It's like, sorry, what?
Yeah, I think there was a scenario last season as well, where I think it was when we played Arsenal, or it might have been the season prior. There was a Saka goal that was given onside when he was stood in an offside position, but because they didn't have the camera angle to see when he's played the ball and where Saka's position, they couldn't really judge it.
Mm.
And I think there has to, like, if you can't, like I said, if you can't have the same angles or have angles that cover every part of the pitch, there's going to be some massive inconsistencies. And in a league as big as the Premier League is, we call it the best league in the world. This can't happen. This can't fly.
I agree. I completely agree. But enough of VAR. Well, not enough of VAR. We'll move on anyway
Well,
to
yeah.
another conscientious decision, which is the two red cards that probably should have been shown. The first one, obviously, to Kai Havertz. Me personally, I think he should have seen red for it. I mean, it was a very silly challenge. I do agree with them saying that it was reckless and not dangerous because I think he is trying to get the ball. He's not trying to injure the man. You can tell that. But there is a line that needs to be drawn with those challenges now if they are going to do it this way. And I'm so very surprised he didn't see red for it. And then obviously you've got the Bruno one where some people have called it an elbow. I think it was about here on the forearm. He just goes like that and gives him one on the back of the head. No matter what, once you raise your hands to another player, if Veer have seen that, he's got to go. Simple as.
Yeah.
There
He
should
has to
be no
walk.
debate about it. I don't know what Veer are going to come out and say about that. I'm surprised there hasn't been made more of that than the goal, to be honest, because he literally has raised his hand to another player in the back as well. Like, it's just stupid. It really is. And I think VAR missed a couple there big time.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Kai Havertz one, I disagree. I do think it's dangerous because he's left the floor. His studs are high. I know he's not intending to injure the player, and I think intent does have to take a factor into it. But when you've come in at that velocity and you've left the ground,
Yeah. Well, that's the
I think intent's taken out of it, and I think I think it's reckless and dangerous,
that's the
which ticks both the boxes for a dismissal.
yeah. Well, that's the fine line I was talking about. It's a very very fine line, and that's where VAR have got like I said, I'm surprised he didn't see red. I really am. Um, but in terms,
Well, we've seen it a few weeks ago with Kovacic. Essentially the exact same tackle. He's flown in, he's left the ground, and he's caught him.
yeah,
Both of them are red cards, and I guess we've got the consistency that we wanted. We've always called for more consistency in VAR, but that consistency shouldn't come if the decisions are still wrong.
yeah, it's true. It's true.
Like, I think both were red cards. I think he's come in, he's left the ground, and he's travelling. That is it. It's Longstaff is very, very lucky that he's not left on a stretcher.
No, I
That
agree.
he's been able to walk out of that challenge, because I think it's very, very reckless and dangerous. And again, the Bruno one, it's silly. It's like it's a Sunday league sort of thing. You go in and you leave an arm or an elbow and you catch the man, and like, what are you doing? You're a professional footballer,
Yeah,
and it's not like this game's a derby where you can understand. Not so much understand, but like you see them more commonly where tackles are harder, they leave a bit more in on them. This is essentially a nothing game.
no, I agree. I agree. It's just,
It's just
it's
silly.
stupid from both of them. But obviously, there was
Yeah.
also a game of football in between all of this. Um,
Yeah.
I watched the game in real time. I'd say it was one of those games where it was back and forth, but only up until the opposition's 18-yard box. No team really created anything. I think Newcastle are going to miss Isak in the long run, even though Callum Wilson's a very good player. I think Isak brings a little bit more to Newcastle, and vice versa. Arsenal completely missed Odegaard. That guy cannot miss any more games for Arsenal if they're going to want to compete in all competitions. It's that simple for me.
Yeah.
That guy is the glue that holds that attacking team together. And I do believe Arsenal also need a proper number 9 as well. I don't think Eddie Nketiah is good enough, although he's obviously scored a hat trick last weekend, but that was against a team that,
Sheffield.
yeah, that was a team you probably expect a striker to get multiple chances in. So, um, but in the big games, you need your strikers to turn up, and it just wasn't there for Arsenal on the day. They barely created much of anything at all. I think they defended quite well, Arsenal, with Declan Rice. I think Saliba is actually an outstanding defender. I thought he had an incredible game. I've watched him like 3 or 4 times this season. I think every time he's been absolutely outstanding. He is definitely the centre back on the up and one to watch for me. Um, but I think Arsenal just, I think they just blew it, to be honest. I don't think they really created anything, and Newcastle just took that one chance when it came. Although it was
Yeah.
conscientious, they still counted.
Yeah, I agree. A very back and forward game. Offense is not really out on top of this game. Only three shots on target, which is poor from a team that's wanting to push into the top four more consistently, and from a team on the other side that's wanting to challenge for the league more consistently.
Yep, absolutely.
Can't really be coming into these games and not testing each other.
Arsenal needed at least a point in that game for sure,
Yeah,
minimum. But
I know that they've given City kind of free run to sit top of the league, and they've even slumped down behind us. So it's
yep,
gonna be a long old season, but I guess we're all getting what we wanted with a more competitive season.
very true, very true. But we'll move on to our small honourable mention. We'll just spend a couple of minutes talking about this. I wanted to add this, which was the Luton Liverpool game. Just wanted to say absolutely props to Luton. I thought they were absolutely defiant on Sunday against Liverpool. It was one of those where they could have turned up and happily just sat 11 men behind the ball and tried to frustrate Liverpool, and it probably wouldn't have worked out for them. But they actually had a system and a plan and played on the counter, and it nearly really worked out for them. Obviously, they got a fantastic point, but it could have ended up as all three. Um, Obviously, Chong gave them the lead in the 80th minute, and it took a bit of brilliance from Harvey Elliott to find Luis Diaz at the back post in the 95th minute just to save Liverpool's blushes, who were just for me appalling on the day, to be honest. Absolutely terrible. They showed up like it was going to be absolutely easy. I don't think they were even. I don't think they were ready for a team like Luton in their backyard. Um, Obviously, with the pitch being a bit different to what they're used to and the stadium, etc. God knows what it was, but the Kenny is going to be a tough place to go for teams, I think, this season.
Yeah. We said at the start of the season when Luton came up that they had to make sure that the Kenny was going to be ready, because if they had to go play at a different stadium that was more up to scuff with what the Premier League wanted, they probably weren't going to stay up,
Yeah,
because they won't have the same home advantage. They'd essentially be traveling for an away game every season, or every week.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, and yeah, they've made that place a really hard place to go to. I know they're sat at the bottom of the table. They're the 17th at the minute, but they're still making that a hard place to go to. And these points are going to be what keep them up
Absolutely.
in a season where the bottom four or bottom five, let's be real, aren't really up to scuff, aren't up to the quality of the rest of the league. Any point's going to be big, and I think, sorry, that they played brilliantly. They played to their strengths in a game where we really, really didn't even really get into first gear.
No.
I thought a lot of the players were off, an uncharacteristic, woeful performance from Szoboszlai and Salah. I think our only really standout players were Gravenberch when at the start, and then Elliott when he came on, and then the man of the hour who brought us back level, Luis Diaz. But a really good point for Luton, and it's going
Absolutely.
to be big for them.
And obviously, we want to touch on. Everyone knows about obviously the fact about Luis Diaz and his family problems in Colombia with his dad. Just an absolutely massive moment for him. No one would have blamed him if he'd have gone home and sorted out his family problems. He was like, "No, I've got a job to do." So massive respect from him and all of us at Shots on Target. Wish him and his family the best and hope his dad gets home safe.
But yeah, we send all of our best wishes.
Absolutely. So, moving on to the final game, which could take a bit of dissecting.
It could. Early shouts for game of the season,
Oh, God,
I
yes.
think.
God, yes.
I don't think there's going to be many games that top this. This had everything you want from a London derby.
Oh, 1,000,000%. This could easily be one of the games you'll talk about for years to come. Um, so we'll start off nice and simple. We've obviously got the first 15 minutes where Tottenham were absolutely dominating. They came out on absolute fire. Chelsea did not know what to do. They weren't picking up runners. Tottenham were absolutely dominating, and it led to the Kulusevski goal in the 6th minute through a deflection, but it was still good play from Tottenham. Then obviously in the 14th minute you have Son's disallowed goal that was pretty marginal offside as well. Could have very easily been offside if he'd have held his run a tiny bit. It was the correct decision though. He was offside, so well done to VAR for getting that one right. But then we come to you doggies challenge.
I don't know how people can look at that, like how VAR looked at that the first time and still thought, yeah, we'll give him, we'll let him off.
Yeah, I agree. Do you know what? I actually have a feeling that VAR can sometimes be like kind to players if it's early in the game. Like it's only in the 18th minute and this challenge is made, and it was the doggies only like first proper challenge. So I think that might have played into the referee's favour. Stupidly, I know, because he should have been gone for it. Simple as.
What saved him is the fact that Sterling's not an idiot and he doesn't leave his leg there to get broken.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
if there's contact, he walks. Let's be real. If there is contact, he walks.
Oh, 100%.
But you can't jump in 2-footed off the floor.
100%.
But then it's a common.
But then you think Tottenham would learn their lesson, right? But all it did was just rile them up even further. It seemed like the players were just angry the fact that Udogie got a booking and it riled them up. Then you have the Romero challenge on top of that afterwards, which is absolute stupidity, and he doesn't even get a booking for it. Which then, for me, it leads to Chelsea then getting their tails up and going, hold on a minute, they want to fucking fight here, we'll give them one. And then Chelsea started to learn how Tottenham wanted to play. And then you obviously have the Sterling offside goal with the handball, correct decision. Like you said, if he squares it though, obviously it's a goal because it's a different phase of play. But
Stupid rule.
It is a stupid rule completely, but correct decision nonetheless. But then you have the massive moment that changes the entire game, which is the start off of it, which is the Caicedo disallowed offside goal. Now, for me personally, I actually don't think that should have been disallowed as offside. I don't think Nicholas Jackson is really in the way of the goalkeeper's eye line at all. I think it's a fantastic strike from Caicedo. Although Nicholas Jackson is offside, I don't think he's interfering whatsoever. But
I will disagree there because it does go through his legs.
It does, but what can a player really do in that situation? For me, I think it's
unfortunate.
It's
I
very
do think
marginal.
it's unfortunate.
But to be fair, lucky for Chelsea that it was given offside, because then VAR were allowed to rewind and have a look at the challenge Christian Romero makes on, I believe it was Sterling in the box.
Enzo.
It was Enzo, that was it. Yeah, it was his countryman Enzo. Yeah, and it was just absolute stupidity. It studs up. It's dangerous. It's reckless. Whatever you want to call it, it is just stupidity of the highest. And he sees red for it, and Chelsea get given a penalty.
The one thing I will add, and it's the one confusing fact about Christian Romero, because he is a very, very good defender.
He is.
But his discipline is so appalling. This is his 4th red card for Spurs in 75 games.
Mm-hmm.
That's averaging a red card every 18 games. He has been here 3 years, if that.
Yeah. I think he's one of those players that just plays on the edge. Now, I've played with people like that before in football where you can tell they're reckless, but sometimes they'll make unbelievable moments. They'll like make goal line clearances with their head or save the ball with their nuts. Do you know what I mean? They'll do anything to save the team, but sometimes it can just be a bit too over aggressive and it will punish them. And that's exactly what happens with Christian Romero all the time. He was known for a booking last season, and this season he seemed like he got his act together, but in a big game, in a London derby at Tottenham, when you're 1-0 up, you cannot make a challenge like that. You just need to stand up. Simple as. You don't have to win the ball there. Just stand up. He's not going anywhere.
No, and I guess that what a lot of people on social media have argued with, and I've seen it all over social media, is oh, but he's won the ball. And I mean, yes, he has won the ball,
Follow through rule.
but that is not a natural follow through.
Yeah, it is the.
Your follow through shouldn't take you onto the ankle of the other player.
Yeah.
And for people who want to say like, oh yeah, but he won the ball. Look at Curtis Jones a few weeks ago. He won the ball, went over the ball, and landed on the ankle. And I think there's a difference between that Jones tackle and this Romero tackle. Was he's gone through the ball. He's not gone over it. He's gone through it, and his follow through has landed very high on Enzo Fernandez's leg, and there's intent there. You can see with the force he's travelling through.
Yeah.
That is a lot more reckless and dangerous than the Curtis Jones tackle, and Jones saw red. That has to be a red card if you want consistency.
Yeah, no, I agree. But moving on,
But
we've obviously got the penalty that Cole Palmer puts away. It was very, very unlucky from Vicario not to save it. I think the power just beats him. So Cole Palmer is now 3 for 3 from the pen spot for Chelsea. So fair play to him.
very clinical.
Yeah. But then we go into the second half, and it was very surprising for me, and everyone was talking about it. And I actually kind of respect Ange for it. But down to 10 men, they still played a bloody high line, a ridiculously high line for what you expect Tottenham to do. In years past, if Tottenham go down to 10 men, it's 10 men behind the ball, deep as bollocks. But I kind of respect it under Ange, and I kind of feel like it's a good thing for Tottenham in a way. Although, yeah, they got beat 4-1 here. With obviously Udogie getting another booking on by taking out Sterling and receiving the second booking and going down to 9 men. They still again played a ridiculously high line, and it was kind of working, to be honest. It was actually frustrating Chelsea because they just kept falling for it and playing the ball early over the top, and Tottenham was either reading it, and Vicario was playing like a sweeper keeper or a centre back, if you were. And they were frustrating Chelsea, but then Chelsea realised, hold on, if we make 2 or 3 passes and pull a couple of players out of position, then play the ball in behind, and someone makes a deeper run, that's how you break a high line. And obviously Chelsea figured that out, and within the next 15 minutes, Nicholas Jackson bags a hat-trick with 3 tap-ins. But just as a whole, I think Tottenham have missed a chance here big time. They could have carried on their winning run here easily. I think Christian Romero and Udogie have both let them down massively. I think the players that were still on the pitch put in one hell of a shift. I think Tottenham fans can be very proud of the performance that Tottenham players put in, like your Basumas, your Van de Ven until he got injured, his Maddison as well, Son, etc. And Chelsea, for me, I think was one of those where it could be a very big result for them because it gives them confidence. Obviously, Nicholas Jackson, who is your main striker, scoring a hat-trick can never be a bad thing. Should give him confidence now, even though I do think he's still absolutely useless. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting watch now, because I said at the time this could be the moment that it derails Tottenham's season. Do they have the mentality to bounce back? But I actually believe under Ange, I think they do. I actually do believe they might have that mentality, because the way they played in that second half, like, and even Ange on his press conference afterwards saying, even if we were down to 5 men, we'll still have a go, mate. I gotta respect that from a football team. It might come back to bite their ass, and it might be stupidity, but I, as a neutral, I'm all for it.
See, I've seen Ange get a lot of praise, and I've seen that the Spurs team get a lot of praise for how the manner that they played after losing, both Romero and Udogie. I think it's asinine to give them respect over. They still could have got a point if they sat back. I don't see how that should be respected that they've gone and gotten battered 4-1 by Chelsea because they wanted to play a high line. Game management should come into it and, like, yes, you can still go for the game and you can still attack, but you're putting 8 men on the halfway line and expecting not to leak goals. If they had gotten through this game 1-1, a hard-earned point again with 9 men, I think that would be respected more than getting battered 4-1 and thinking, oh, well, we played a high line and we attacked, so we should get respect. I think it's silly.
Mm,
I think a bit of sensibility and a bit of experience has to come in there and think, we can still get a point here at 1-1. Let's sit back, let's hold this point.
would they
Because a point against Chelsea with 9 men is a very good point, and that will keep them. I think that would have kept them level with City.
would they really have got a point though? Let's be honest.
It's harder to break down. Like you look at what happened when we played Spurs with 9 men. It took a 96-minute own goal. So yes, I
Spurs.
do think they could have probably held on because Nicholas Jackson is fucking shit. I have no qualm saying this. I know people think, oh, there's a player there. I think he's fucking useless. He had 14 chances and still managed to sky your shot from 6 yards. And I think if you keep giving them 6 yard shots, yes, one might go in eventually, but if you've got a lot of players sat behind that ball, you're more likely to block it, or it's just going to keep going over.
Yeah,
I think ultimately game management should have prevailed there and not this, oh, well, we could have 5 men and we're still going to go for it. No. That way, if he has that mentality in every game and they go, like you've got that walking red card liability at centre back, if you do that every time you go down to 9 or 10 men, you're going to get battered and you're going to drop a lot of points.
prob-
And with how light and how often red cards have been given out this season, it won't be a shock if this happens again.
problem is though I don't. Looking at like Spurs in recent years past, and like knowing a few Spurs fans myself, I think they'll actually see this as a bit of a fresh breath of fresh air though, because they've seen it in seasons where they've literally played where they've literally just sat back for 90 minutes and done absolutely nothing to control the game or anything like that, and we've praised them all season for doing that, taking it to the team controlling it. I understand game management has to come into play, but I think they're going to take more from this as a loss, even though it's a big loss. I think they're going to take more from it now in terms of like camaraderie, and because like every single fan in that stadium was clapping Tottenham's performance at the end of the game. If they'd have sat back and still lost 2 or 3 or 4-1, which could have easily happened as well with 9 men, you don't know how it would have played out, but the fans wouldn't have respected them for it as much, I personally think. So
Mm,
it's one of those where I can understand where you're coming from, but I think obviously it remains to be seen what the bounce back now for Tottenham is the big one. The
yeah,
next fixture for them is the big one, and we'll see what happens there if they bounce back. If they go into lose 2, 3, 4 in a row, I'll hold my hands up and go, all right, they're fucked up, simple as. But I think that in the long scheme of things, I think it could be a good thing. And plus, it also brings them back down to earth a bit as well, because Tottenham fans were riding a high, top of the league. Do you know what I mean? And was trying to play it down like a good manager does, but do you know what I mean? You could tell that those players were like getting a bit giddy that they were top of the league. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it brings them a bit back down to earth now. It's like this is the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Results like this will happen. So it's all about the bounce back for me. But to be honest, I do want to touch on like how obviously bad Tottenham were. I thought Chelsea played well. I think they've still got a long way to go. Um, I think they create chances, but I don't think they have anyone really clinical to put the ball in the back of the net. Like I do agree with you that I don't think Nicholas Jackson is up to scratch. Um, I think it will be very different in January when Nkunku comes back. What
Yeah,
he can do for Chelsea, that could be massive for Chelsea. That I still think their two best players are Palmer and Sterling, without a doubt. Um,
yeah,
but I think there's still a long way to go for Chelsea and a lot of work still to be done. But nonetheless, away to Tottenham, a 4-1 win, a hat trick for your striker. I think Chelsea fans will take that all day long.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, well, that is going to do it, guys, for our rundown of the Premier League moments this weekend. So that's going to do it, guys, for this week's episode of the Shots on Target podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps out the channel. And we will see you next week, guys.
See you later, guys.